Civil rights, black history, and all of these farces of blackness are just that, a bunch of, it's just a bunch of farce. It's nonsense. It's a farce. It's a big game that they're playing with the Mesoamerican people, the real Native Americans here. Let me show you how it goes, because you think about this. We are the natives of this land, right? The so-called white man knows that, the elites know that, the government knows that, the high-ups, the Illuminati, all them people know that we, so-called black people here in America, we are the natives of this land. First and foremost, before I continue, can y'all hear me? I want to make sure everybody can hear me before I go forward. I want to make sure everybody hear me, because this is important. This is very important. So I want to make sure everybody can hear me. All right. I want everybody listening, everybody listening, just pay attention to this. You know, it's all been a farce. It's all been false. Our history, our so-called history, and this whole civil rights thing was just really contrived. It was staged and scripted to reintroduce our people into the world as black people. I'm going to say it again. The whole civil rights thing, the whole black rights, civil rights, black history, and all this other stuff was just really a scripted and laid out plan to, you know, basically shoehorn this new creation of the Caucasians here, shoehorn so-called black people into this so-called governmental system. Again, remember I said there was a time before we were known as black people. We were called colored people. We were called the copper-colored people, which again goes back to our Mesoamerican heritage, our real history here. Those of you so-called black people born here in America and in a lot of the Caribbeans, you are the descendants of the ancient Americans, which are bronze people, so-called black people. We did not come from Africa. Y'all know this is what the, you know, channel and everything in this broadcast is dedicated to. For us knowing who we are, what our true history is here in the society, and to know that it is not going to be found in Africa. Our true history, our true heritage is here in America as the ancient Americans, as the real Native Americans, as the Mesoamericans. So much, so much history is left on the table. I've been saying this in all the other broadcasts. So much history is left on the table. So much of our history is going unclaimed by us. So much of our history, hell, all of our history is being claimed by other races of people. All of our history is being claimed by other races of people. And that is disgusting. While they give us fake history, fake identity, fake titles, and fake origins, and fake rights, all false. It is all a farce. This is what we're being handed. I see 612. I'll call you. I'm going to take your call in a second. I just want to get this out. All of this is being handed over to us, and is disingenuous and is false. And you have a lot of black collaborators that are working in concert with these Caucasians who are pulling this scam, who are running this game, who are trying to reintroduce us to the world as black people. See, the whole civil rights thing, the whole civil rights and the whole Black History Month and the whole terminology of African Americans, see, all that was scripted. Why do I say all of that was scripted? I say it was all scripted because, like I said, we were coming up on our own in the society. We were coming up on our own in the society. We had movements like Marcus Garvey. We had movements like Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You had Knowles Raleigh. You had real movements, even though they were Masonic in their foundation, even though they were dealing with Masonry. But you still can't deny that it produced an independent streak in us that we were not going to get by way of the government. Okay? It produced an independent thing in our people, you see, that we started to do for ourselves. And see, when the people start to do for themselves, when the people start to come together and they are deciding what their fate is going to be, what they're going to be, what their direction is going to be, what their focus is going to be, and working together, see, that's not good for people who want to control and keep their hands over our people. You see, that's not good. You see, they want, remember like they said, They want controlled opposition. In other words, the beast will create a opposition, and they will create a, ally, and they will control both sides. They'll control a race as Caucasians, right? They'll control the race as Caucasians, your elites. They will control the race as Caucasians with hoods on their head, and they will control the other people, the blacks on the other side, shouting civil rights and black power. They'll control both. Both are controlled opposition. Both are funded by these elites who are in charge. They fund these things, and it's all a big farce. Because, like I said, they wanted to reintroduce us as black people in society. They wanted to reintroduce us as black people. They wanted to take us out of that whole colored thing. See, because the colored thing was aligned with the original description of our people, which was, according to Merriam-Webster, the original Americans of this society, right? The original Americans of this society are the copper-colored races, the copper-colored races of this society, which, again, are so-called black people, or falsely being called black and African American. The original people of this land, who are the real Americans before everybody, was the copper-colored race. Now, I proved to you that they could only be talking about so-called black people because our skin is not black. Our skin is a copper-colored tone to it. Our skin looks just like the penny. Right? Now, again, if they were talking about so-called Indians, so-called red Indians, as they say, right? Because the white man was referring to the Indians as red, as the red man. They didn't say red-toned people. They didn't say the red-toned Indian, nor did they say the American Indian. Notice that. No, any other time, they'll make reference to the so-called Mongoloid Indian as the American Indian. If that was the people that Merriam-Webster was talking about, why didn't they just say that? Why didn't they just say in the description that the original Americans are the American Indians of this land? The original Americans are the American Indians, the red-skinned people, the red-toned people. Why wasn't that in the description? So now you ask yourself, who are these copper-colored races of people? They didn't make no mistakes. See, that's a few instances the white man will tell the truth. He told you who the real Americans are. But, and we knew that we were the real Americans. Your great-great-great-grandmothers and all, they knew that we were born here in America, that we are from here. And they referred to themselves as copper tone, bronze tone, sepia, again, which is a form of bronze or brownish bronze, copper tone to our skin. And we made reference that we was only going by what we see, and we was going by what other people saw us to be, those copper tone people. We was going by that. But they had to do a Vulcan mind trick, that Vulcan Jedi mind trick. They had to do the Vulcan Jedi mind trick. They had to convince a people who, at first glance, you look at them, there's the copper tone people right there. There go the copper colored people right here. The copper colored. So they started to erase that gradually. I told you they was making reference to us as the copper-colored people, the copper-toned people, the bronze people. It's all the same thing. So they had to erase that over time gradually because they wanted to create a black race. They wanted to create a black people. And the Mesoamericans, meaning us, we were designated by the so-called white man to be the black race. We weren't made the black race. They made us into the black race. We were the copper-toned people. We were the copper-colored people. And like I said, you've seen them gradually go away. We went from copper-colored people to colored people, as you can see. Remember, we were colored people. So how we go from colored people? That's like a total 180-degree turn. How we go from colored people? Color denotes what? Different shades, different tones. Do you ever think about that? That's why they was referring to us as colored people, because they knew we came in different shades and different tones. That's why the white man called us colored, because we came and we wasn't all just one complexion, and we didn't get different complexions by mixing them with them. We always came in different tones and different complexions. That's a lie when they say we was all dark. Everybody was jet black, like Kunta Kinte, dark skin, and even Kunta Kinte not real, but everybody was all jet black until a white man came, and that's when we started getting brown skin and light skin and all this stuff. That's nonsense. That's a lie. That is a lie. Huge lie. We always came in different shades and different tones without the white man, without the Asian man, without the interference of any other recessive genetic that's coming into our dominant genetics. We always came in different shades and different tones. That's a damn lie. You can look on the walls in ancient Egypt. You see us bronze people, so-called black people, bronze people in different shades and different tones. And you Israelites, like I told you, you need to stop lying and saying that the ancient Egyptians were a bunch of tribal Africans and a bunch of people look like Manute Bol and all them in the tribal. That's a lie. That's a lie. You can see on the wall that nobody looks like that. Y'all lying, man, because y'all want to keep this Israelite narrative going. But I'm going to get on that more in a minute. So you can see that we come with different shades, different tones and complexions. But they wanted to just blanket and label us as black people. They wanted to just do a sweeping blanket and just label us as black people. So what was the best way to do that? They had to create situations. They had to create these events, these public displays of events, right? Because think about it, nobody was, like I said, nobody was really asking for none of these civil rights stuff. Where does all these civil rights movements and all this come from? Ask yourself that question. Where is all the civil rights and, sitting on the bus and, you got to sit on the back of the bus and, you can't drink off the same water fountain. Black people wasn't trying, so-called black people, bronze people, we wasn't trying to do that. We wasn't trying to drink off a lot of those water fountains with these Caucasians. We didn't want to drink off them or nothing with them. I mean, of course, you had a few coon Sambos who wanted to. Of course, you had a few coon Sambos that wanted to use the same bathroom and drink off the same water fountain with them and eat in the same restaurant. But for the most part, we was in our own sections. We had our own communities. We was in our own sections. We had our own restaurants, our own community, our own bus line. We was doing fine for ourselves. We was coming together. We didn't need them. You see, we didn't need them. All we wanted to be is left alone. And they didn't want to leave you alone. They wanted to just still pick at you and whatnot because according just not even dealing with them wasn't even good enough. Not dealing with them wasn't good enough. They're going to force something out of you that whenever they feel a need to attack you or got some problem with you or whatever, or just harass you, that wasn't even good enough. But we wasn't dealing with white people like that. We didn't care to deal with white people like that. You see, we was referring to ourselves as colored people. We was cool with the colored because at least we knew that the color denoted something more than just, shading and tone on our skin. We knew that the color was a throwback to the copper-colored people, the sepia people, the sepia-tone people. We already knew that about ourselves. In fact, in one of the Nation of Islam, in one of their little documentaries, it's an old documentary, they were saying, black people back then, they was going by the name sepia, copper, copper tone sepia. They didn't want to be black people, and the people in the Nation of Islam, whoever did the documentary, who did the narration, they tried to make that seem like it was a bad thing, that we didn't want to be known as black people. We didn't want to be known as black people because we're not black. Our skin is not black. Our skin is a rich bronze copper tone complexion. We know exactly what the hell we looking at. But again, they had to do the Vulcan Jedi mind trick. They had to get that whole black thing across to us until we accepted it. So they had to keep on pushing black, 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 black. They had to keep on pushing it. And I told you, for the longest time, our people resisted it until here come the civil rights movement. See, because really the civil rights movement was used to showcase the term black and African American. That's really what the civil rights thing was. Negro, that they used the civil rights movement, and they used groups like the NAACP, which was started by Zionists, by the Caucasian Zionists, right? Who was running the NAACP and the Urban League. Caucasian Zionists were running that. They started that, all right, and they ran and they basically called the shots. Why? Because they were trying to push that whole Negro thing. What is the name of the NAACP? What is it? The Negro Advancement, some nonsense. What's the acronym for the National Advancement But no, hold on. Notice still they were using colored there, right? The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They wasn't using Negro or black yet like that. That wasn't in heavy rotation. But they were going to use these organizations to start spreading Negro, to start spreading black. They were using it to start doing that. Okay? They were going to use to start spreading Negro and black because, again, they've been wanting to label us as black people, as African Americans. As no, well, African American came later, like after this, like into the '60s, going to the '70s with Jesse Jackson. You know, his Caucasian Zionist bosses told him, you know, your people want them to be labeled black and African American Negro. And he went along with it. And he acted like he came out of nowhere pushing that whole African American Negro nonsense. And then, of course, with your whole new identity that you got, thanks to the so-called white man, with your whole new black identity, with your whole new African American Negro identity that you got from the so-called white man, you had to throw away any connection to our Native American ancestry. And I'm not talking about no damn Mongoloid Indians. I'm not talking about that. Again, y'all gotta get y'all minds, because somebody sent me something on one of these videos, brother, and he invited me to some Indian type of black Indian powwow or something like that. He said he liked what I'm doing. Shout out to the brother. I don't know what his name is, but he sent it on one of the comment sections on the video, the Mesoamerican. And no disrespect to the brother, but we're not Indians. We don't answer to Indian. The Indians, the so-called American Indians, that's a name that comes from the white man. You see, he called the so-called Mongoloid Indians who mixed in with the Mongoloids, the Asians, and that mixed in with us. He called them Indians. We're not part of them. You know, we're not part of them. We're not part of the Mongoloid Indians. When we didn't come together as the Mesoamerican community. You know, we didn't come together and acknowledge our true heritage to align ourselves with any Indians. We don't want to be aligned with the term Indian. We're not Indians. We're Mesoamericans. We are ancient Americans. We are the real Native Americans. And all of that so-called American Indian nonsense is just some lie the white man made up, like many other lies he makes up. You see, they speak with a forked tongue, like, you know, just lying and just deceiving people. And your so-called Mongoloid Indians are part of that whole deception as well. They part of the whole deception because they know that knowledge and a lot of the things they got as far as culture and heritage of the so-called American Indian is really nothing but rip-offs of the Mesoamerican society, the earliest societies that were here before these Mongoloids crossed the Bering Straits over here and came into the Americas. You see, they encountered our people when they came here. When the Mongoloid Indians came over here as Asians and East Indians mixed, when they came over here, they saw our people here. And a lot of our people were putting them in ropes and chains and taking them into custody, or, you know, locking them up or doing whatever they was doing with them. There's pictures on that where they were taking the Mongoloid Asians who were trying to come in amongst our people. They were the first invaders, and they were trying to come into our societies and basically set up their own thing. And they mixed in with some of our people. This is where your so-called American Indians come from. We're not Indians, and we're not black people. You see, we are Mesoamerican people. And the word American comes from the Mayans, not from Amerigo Vespucci. That's a lie. That's a lie. Big lie. But, like I said, our Mesoamerican people should be angry, should be pissed off, rightfully so, because, like I said, our people are the original, the first, the ancient Americans here, and our heritage is being covered up. Our heritage is being covered up with nonsense like civil rights, with nonsense like black history. You see, that was just a way to reintroduce us as black people in this society. That's all that was. That was about nothing but reintroducing us as black people. And we have to wake up. We have to move beyond that as a Mesoamerican people. And then question, why don't these so-called American Indians, why don't they tell you what their true heritage is and where they came from? You do know that's factual that they crossed the Bering Straits and that these are Asian people. Why don't they ever talk about that part of where they came from? Why don't they talk about where they originally came from before they came into America? Why don't they talk about that? And I'm going to show you where he contradicted himself. But first, let me give you these texts. Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, published in 1975 by Alexander von Werthenow. Alexander von Werthenau. Unexpected. If you're still listening, sir, go look up Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. Ancient America. Okay? Ancient America. Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. By Alexander von Werthenau. You can look it up on YouTube too. You'll see images and whatnot, and it'll show you in that book. And then also, they came before Columbus. The Olmecs, pre-Columbian, and all this other stuff. So again, these are so-called black people here before the so-called Asians came here. Whether it was 1,000 years ago, 2,000, 5,000, 16,000, whatever. I'll admit to you that offhand, I don't know the number at the time frames, but I do know who was here first. You see, the white man could say something that's 5,000 years old, 10,000 years. He could say all this stuff, but in all reality, let's be for real. Do we even know that those numbers are real? Let's cut the nonsense. Do we even know that these numbers are real, or this just some shit the white man make up like he always do? Because you got simple-minded Negroes that come up here and they go off of whatever they read from the white man. They just a bunch of parrots that repeat it. These niggas act like they was actually out there dusting off rocks and all this other stuff like the white man claimed so that he can carbon date or whatever he claimed he's doing to get the age of something, which a lot of times he's just speculating and making up stuff. He spoke on, and we spoke on, what the original civilizations were here in this society. Going from Mexico to Peru and to North America to South America and all over the place, okay? When you make reference to the oldest civilizations, the Mesoamerican civilizations come up, along with Sumerian and things like that. Those civilizations come up. I ain't seen nothing from Asia. Now, if these people, this guy, let me show you how he contradicts himself. He said that these people, the so-called Mongoloids, they came here or they crossed over before black people, or just they crossed over, and he said their civilization is older than the Aztec, the Inca, and the Mayan. Okay, so then why are you claiming that? And if that's the case, what civilization is that? Because you just said that their civilization are the so-called people. They came over here before the Aztec, the Inca, and the Mayan. That's a lie. But okay. So you're saying that they started the Aztec, Inca, and the Mayan, those are those people, right? Even though your so-called Native Americans never call themselves Mesoamerican. Your so-called Latin X people, though, is no such thing as a Latin X people. Latinos are nothing but a mixed race of people. They are Asian and East Indian mixed, and some black in them, some so-called black in them. They're not even a real race of people. There were no Mexicans 5,000 years ago, okay? The original people of that land of Mexico is so-called black people. Peru, all of those places. You see, again, they came before Columbus, Ivan Van Sertima. It's a whole bunch of books on about the breakdown of the Olmecs, the Aztecs, and that they were actually so-called black people. And you got their pictures up there, their images, and when you could clearly see, unless you're blind or you don't want to see, you can clearly see these are so-called black people. And you can see that they're not African. They look like the people here in America today, because America in itself is the home of the copper-colored races, which is your so-called people being called black. Your so-called Mongoloid Indians, if they got any copper in their skin, it's because they mixed in with us. They mixed in with us. We'll show you a whole bunch of images of so-called Indians where you can see the Asian and so-called black mixing them. So, yeah, they did mix in with us. Yeah, they did come over amongst us. Yeah, you might see one or two of them in the ancient Mesoamerica, because that's what around the time they start coming in around us, mixing in with us and things like that. But they didn't build any of that stuff. Because if they built this stuff and they got civilization older than the Aztec Inca, then point me back to Asia and whatnot, where they walking around with helmets on their head and doing all that. Point me back to that. Point me back to the language, that the Asian language and whatnot, that they should still know. And tell me where they so-called Native American language come from. You see, where did it come from? See, because, again, you got a lot of people. Again, this guy, I'm going to give this other book again, Unexpected Faces in Ancient America by Alexander von Werthenau. Now, sir, unless you're going to point to a text for me, which will probably be some nonsense, I'm giving real text that you can look to and real pictures of the people who lived there. But see, somebody like him will try and debunk that, oh, they wasn't really black. See, that's like you said, I take a page out of Tariq Nasheed book. That's a bad faith argument, as they say, because no matter what you tell these type of people, no matter what you tell them, they in it to debate. They in it to win a contest. They in it to debunk and disprove and go against you and show how smart they are. They're not here to learn because, see, I'm here to learn. If I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm wrong, correct me. But if the only thing you, or point me to a text to show me, and I'll listen. You see, I was open to listen to this guy. But what it came to, as I'm talking, I'm trying to explain. You see him talking over me. I let him talk. I didn't say nothing. He wants to come on here and be right. He wants to come on here and be right. And he wants to look for little loopholes. Oh, see, you don't even know the time. What difference do it make? What time? I could have said 20. They came over here 1,600 years, 16. It don't matter. When they came here, there were people here already. So-called black people were in this land. Mesoamerican, the real Mesoamericans were in this land. And the reason why you don't know a lot about the Mesoamericans, the reason why they don't put Mesoamerican history along as a part of American history, because they know they would have to show you that all those people back there were so-called black people. And see, the white man don't have a good enough explanation for that. Because, see, his lie is we all got here through slavery. We all came off of a slave ship, which is a damn lie. A lie. And I don't care how articulate you sound. I don't care how many white man books you say. Because, see, again, the guy who wrote the book, he's a white man. I don't care who wrote the book. What would impress me about the book, not what just he wrote, I saw the pictures. He showed the pictures. He was one of the very few white men that's not going to lie about the real history, the real heritage of the people that was here. He was one of the few people that wouldn't do that. That's why the book is out of print. That's why you got to pay at least $500 or $600. You got to go through hell to get that book. But I'm going to still get it. They got books in Mexico you wouldn't even believe, with the so-called black people there and the ones who was in rulership authority, statues, things like that, that the ancient people left behind. Wasn't no Asians up there. Wasn't no Latino X's up there. You see? Wasn't no Africans there. See, because those are two different cultures. Different cultures. You see, but you got people like this. And I'll say this, man. A lot of times these guys, these people will come and, these so-called educated Negroes, they'll come in here and, they here to push Pan-Africanism, right? They here to push Pan-Africanism, but they know that, and I said this before, a lot of these boule coons are Pan-Africanists. A lot of these boule coons and they baby coon offspring who believe they're African Americans or that they come from Africa, like I said, they want to keep pushing that narrative. They want to keep the slave ship narrative alive. They don't want the real history. They don't want the real heritage of our people. See, because that's supposed to be closed to us. So they'll send some people like this, or they'll get just some guy come on here, want to be argumentative. Like I said, it don't matter to me either way. I'm about the truth, about reality. I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm not trying to sit up here and win no argument. If it came out tomorrow or tomorrow night, whatever, that the black people wasn't the original people here, I could care less than a damn. That ain't gonna stop us from being mentalists and being Republican mentalists and we trust. But we're not gonna sit up here and go with your Negro narrative, which is a lie that you got from the white man. We're not going with your damn out of Africa theory. Because you do know the white man, if you want to go with him, he didn't have no African civilizations up there as the oldest civilizations. He sure didn't. He sure didn't. He had Mesoamerican and he had Middle Eastern civilizations up there that predate Africa. But yet you tell me Africa is the start of all life for people and whatnot, and you want to make it seem like, oh, we only just come from Africa. Stop it, man. Stop it. I gave you 2 texts, sir. You told me you wanted to get stuck on what I was right on the time frame in which a bunch of these Asians, these Mongoloid Asians came over here. What I do know is that they crossed the Bering Strait, and that's where they came from. That I do know. What I do know is that when they came here, they found people here, our people in this land. What I do know is there are pictures and there are texts of our people rounding their asses up and putting them wherever whether it was killing them, putting them to death, because these people came in as lawbreakers. They got that. Go check out, shout out to Ali Muhammad. Check out his video and whatnot where he talked about the ancient American people. Ali Muhammad. I'm pointing to more people. He went to Mexico. I'm going to go there and get some of them books and stuff like that because, again, they're not going to teach you this here in America. You see? And it goes to show you the very people that's going to be against it is not just the so-called white man. It's going to be a lot of these Pan-African Negroes too, man. These niggas who in love with the slave ship narrative of the white man. These niggas who in love with the mindset of, oh, you know, we all came from Africa on slave ships, and you know, we ain't built nothing over here. Everything that got built was by the so-called Native Americans. Okay, so then question. Why the white man when they seen the go, I'm gonna give you a place in Chicago, in Illinois. There's Monk's Mound out there. Monk's Mound is a bunch of different cities all over North America that are built like, there were mound cities that were built like the Olmec, Aztec, and Incan architecture that was built here in the society. You had people building civilizations here before the so-called Asians came over here, before the so-called white man came over here. These were so-called black people, and they got the statues and how them people look like straight up so-called African Americans, man. You can't make this stuff up. I got documentaries, I got books, I got text to prove my point. All he got was, oh, see, you don't know what time they came here. See, so how you going to tell me? See, I studied. See, you ain't give me no text, though. No text. And he want to argue over the copper-colored thing. I told you. And how many of y'all noticed the white man never called the so-called American Indians copper-colored? That's a lie. They called them red people. Tell me I'm wrong. Do they not call the so-called do they not call the so-called Mongoloid Indians red man? Do they not call them that? They was calling them that in the 1800s, calling them red man. So obviously they wasn't talking about them. They got a goddamn football team called the Washington Redskins. So obviously the so-called white man saw the so-called American Indians as red-skinned people, not copper-skinned people. There's a difference. A copper is more brownish tone and then you got the red. The copper is more toward the brownish tone, brownish goldish tone. You see, they would have said, oh, you know, this was inhabited, because again, keep in mind, because we want to go with text now, right? Keep in mind, Merriam-Webster 1828 definition of an American, copper-colored races here in Americas before the Europeans, right? Now, they knew term, Merriam-Webster knew, they was using the term American Indian here. They used American Indian here, right? They was using that in the 1800s. They was using Indians, American Indians, red-skinned people. They was using those terms back then. So if that was those people, why didn't they say that? Why didn't they say that? You know why? You know why they didn't say that? Because they know that those people are not the real natives of this land. They already know that. They know who the natives of this land is. They know the people that have been farming this land for thousands of years before the so-called Asians came over and the white man. They know who the natives of this land are. Okay? So y'all need to stop the lies and whatnot and trying to take our history and whatnot, our heritage, and hand it over to a bunch of so-called Mexicans who are not even a real race of people. The so-called Mexicans are not even a real race. The so-called the only 4 races on the planet, 4 established races. You got the so-called black, so-called white, Asian, and East Indian. Those people are the most vastly different looks of people. Anything under that is a mixture of those 4 groups. Anything other than that is a mixture. Okay? So a Mexican can look dark-skinned, so-called black, so pale-skinned. Okay? Anybody can call themselves a Mexican. Okay? But these people are not native to the land. The native people to the land are the so-called copper-colored people, the bronze-skinned people. Bronze skin, which is really another way of saying black, because our skin is not black. When I asked him, I said, is our skin black then? He's like, I didn't say our skin was black, but notice he never said what our skin is. You can't say our skin is brown. You can't say that, because then you would have to say, well, it's not the same brown as the Mexicans. It's not the same brown as the East Indians. And I don't know, maybe you got some East Indian in you, because I know I can tell the difference between an East Indian and a so-called black person. I don't know what you're talking about. And if you can't, well, like I said, it was our people was over there in India too. That's factual. That's factual. Our people were in India. Okay? They got black people in India today. I forget what they call them, the Dravidians or something like that. And some of them got the copper colored skin, and they got woolly hair. They don't got the straight hair like the East Indians. because our people was in India before they was in India. You see, they got a whole thing where they hide the people of the. You got people in Asia, black people in Asia, that they don't talk about, with slanted eyes and things like that, who's not mixed in with the Mongoloids. So give me a break. See, the problem is when you get people that buy into this whole out of Africa thing and everything, if you're a so-called black person, that means you had to come from Africa. You wasn't no place else. Stop, man. Our people was all over the planet before everybody was here. Notice I gave him 2 texts, and I could have gave more. I got to look them up. They all over the place. This is all over YouTube. See, so there's really no need to debate anymore with people. I honestly don't like to debate because I know, being that I've debated before, and I said I would never debate with people again, because, see, 9 times out of 10, they really don't want to learn anything. See, when I'm debating something, I'm open to learn whatever you're going to tell me, if it's logical, if it's rational. If I give you 2 books, 2 texts to read, and not just read, because, see, anybody can say anything. Anybody can make up dates. Anybody can do that. But if I'm actually giving you physical publication, tangible things to put your hands on, where it's not just the words of the author, there are pictures of those ancient people there. There are pictures, overwhelming pictures of the ancient people, the first civilizations here. As they said in those books, the first civilizations established here, and they show you the people's faces of people established them. These are black people, so-called black people. These are not Asians. You can see that. Their faces are so clear, it's not even funny. How we didn't even see this. Why was this history hidden from us? Why was it hidden from us? Why didn't we learn about these so-called black people in American history that started American civilization here? Shouldn't American history include Mesoamerican history as well, since you're dealing with the foundation and the building of a society here in this land? Shouldn't Mesoamerican civilization and Mesoamerican heritage, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of years, way older than American, United States American history is, why is that not included in the history of America? You know why? But now think. Now they could tell you about the so-called American Indians now, right? And they're only willing to go up to a certain point with them. Because, see, once you go past the so-called, go back beyond the so-called American Indians and where they came from, once you go back beyond that, then you start getting darker and darker and darker, and then you got so-called black people. You got them copper-colored people, the real copper-colored people. I'll ask you, sir, where did that mix come from? So you could see the early black and Asian mix amongst the people, the American Indians. Where did that come from? Now, this is before slavery and everything. Where did that mix come from? I know where his answer will be. See, the Indians had black people in slavery. And they laid with them and that's where the black and Asian came from. That would be his answer. I already know. Listen, man. People, one thing you'll learn about those, because I hope people don't think I got this guy off of the phone or I didn't want to debate with him and all this other stuff. Let me tell y'all something. And y'all, I want y'all to take this with you, those of you, because you're going to save yourself a lot of energy and a lot of mental energy and focus in not arguing with these people, because they come here already and their mind is already made up. They're not trying to hear nothing you're saying. So if you're not trying to hear nothing I'm saying, but yet I'm listening to you, I'm hearing you out, and I'm actually trying to show you where you're flawed at and show you where I'm showing proof of what I'm saying, and you're talking over me. That's the first sign. When people talking over you, when people not trying to hear your point and whatnot, what you're trying, but yet you're being quiet and listening to them, that's a red flag of a person who really don't want to debate. He don't really want to. He's not trying to hear you. He's trying to catch you in something. He's trying to make you look bad. He's trying to make you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. See, that's not a debate. A debate, you're supposed to teach people things. You're supposed to bring forward some knowledge or something factual, logical, rational that you have. Now, you notice he kept using the term he's logical and rational, which tell me he don't listen to mental like radio. He don't listen to those terms I tend to use about logic and rational thinking and whatnot. So obviously he listens to mental like radio. So they'll send people like this will come over and they got something to prove. So they want to try to debunk you and make you look bad. I'm tired of this guy sound like he know what he's talking about. I'm going to go over there and show him he's wrong. And if the only thing you could point to is, oh, you didn't say the time. See, you didn't. Notice he kept harping on that. You just kept talking about the time. And you just talking about, you don't know the time, but you tell me I don't know it. What difference do it make? You know why I don't dwell on the times the white man gives? You know why I don't? Because he make that shit up. He lies. He'll say something's 5,000 years. Next thing you know, 2-3 years down the line, well, we redid it and we re-carbon tested and dated. It's actually 8,000 years, or it's actually 8,500 years, or it's actually 12,000. They'll just say anything. And it's always idiots like that will believe them. I don't go with dates and things like that. I don't really keep that in my head because all that don't mean nothing. People could say, oh, somebody could come along and say tomorrow it's 30/25. If a government of people come and say, you know what, the date now is 32/25. It's no longer 2021. It's 32/85 now. So now we all saying it's 32/85 now. People come along with dates and put their date. That's a personalized thing. When people come up here with their ideas on how old something is, the dates, that's a personalized observation or a personalized belief or opinion about something based on their observation. That don't make it right. That's why I don't get hung up on dates and all of that stuff. What I do know is that they talked about with the oldest civilization. You don't need dates to prove that. You don't need dates to prove what the oldest civilization is. You could tell the structure and how it's built and whatnot, and what still stands. That's how you know, because, again, you're going to always be able to find ruins of whatever came first. These older civilizations are the Olmec, the Aztec, the Inca, the Maya. These are the civilizations. The people will tell you, they'll let you know when they came here, what people was here, because people, when they live in a life here, they're going to leave behind images and things of themselves. Wherever you live, wherever you are, you're going to make an impression. You're going to leave behind something. Our people lived here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they left plenty of images of themselves that can't even be denied. But you got idiots who will come up here and deny those images. Sir, do me that favor if you're still listening, and those of you who still listen who send up here, oh, see, Newman didn't want to debate this guy. I'm not wasting my time because he already got his mind made up. Go look up Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. 1975, Alexander von Wildthrob, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's a German name, Wildthrob, but Unexpected Faces in Ancient America, you can Google it. They came before Columbus. All of these you can find with the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, and the Maya, on YouTube, on everything. Don't miss me with the dates, okay? Miss me with the dates and trying to catch somebody and like what you saying, you don't know what you're talking about because you ain't know what the date is. Again, you didn't point to no text. And don't sit up here and talk you did some research. You did not go nowhere. You didn't go with your little the little telescope or your little microscope and dust off rocks. That would be like research. Not you just going off of what you heard out of some book. You see, I'm not going off of what I just heard out of some book or what I read out of a book. I actually looked at the pictures. Pictures don't lie. Pictures don't lie. The white man will lie. The black man will lie. But the pictures, the ancient starches and things they picked out of the ground, don't lie. Those are black people. So, I'm sorry for you Mexicans, you Latinx who want to claim Mesoamerican heritage, or you so-called Mongoloid Indians. Sorry, fellas. Maybe you can get with these Pan-African Americans who believe all black people came from over in Africa, and maybe y'all can get together and try to make up some shit on your own and try to disprove that we was the first people here. But as it stands now, logically, rationally, it ain't going to change. The first Americans, the only real Americans, the only Native Americans to this land is the so-called black people. So-called African Americans who are not from Africa, who are not black people, who are the copper-colored Mesoamericans of this land, or falsely being called black. Copper-colored skin comes from our people. It is a feature of our people, just like woolly hair, just like broad noses and thick lips. Those are attributes of our people. Anybody who has that is because they mixed in with us. Because the genotype and the phenotype of the so-called Asians. You already know what their genotype and phenotype is. You know what the genotype and the phenotype is of the so-called white man, the Caucasian. You know what the genotype and the phenotype is of the so-called East Indian and all that. So if they have any different other variations that look like ours, then that's because it's ours. That's because it's ours. You see, now if this gentleman if he was going to listen We could have had a discussion. I don't like to say debate. I'll say discussion because I know with debates people think it's a contest. You see, I'm not trying to contest nothing you're saying. If you bring me logical, rational things, like I said, I accept images before anything. I accept ancient images, you know, and the images say everything. The images trump your time frames. It trump your words. I don't want to hear nothing after that. I'm looking at what the people made, what they left behind. That's what I'm looking at. You see, I gave you text, sir. I gave all the listeners text that they can go to, actual physical books. I gave you all these things. And what you need to do, sir, since you claim you from Africa, I guess you're a traveler, you need to take a trip to Mexico and go to the Mexican museums out there and whatnot and look up the ancient Mesoamerican people and whatnot. See what you find. See what you find. Look at the books out there. I'm going to get some of those books, and I want to keep them in my collection. See, because of stuff like this. Because I told y'all before, it's going to be a lot of these Pan-African coons that's going to come floating up out of the damn sewer, and they're going to, you know, because as this channel is getting, you know, the broadcast again, because you could tell somebody, he been listening to Mentellect Radio, and, you know, he just couldn't wait to just get on something and try to find something. I'm from Africa. Didn't say what part of Africa he was from. You know, he probably ain't even from so-called. He probably some African American who's sitting up here claiming, oh, I'm African, I'm from Africa. What part of Africa you from, sir? Let me know in the comment section because it's going to be on YouTube. Let me know what part of Africa you from. You see? So, again, like I said, man, the picture says 1,000 words. A picture says 1,000 words. And this is why, like I said, I went a little off topic, but I'm going to bring it right back around to where I was saying. This is why Mesoamerican so-called black people falsely being called African Americans should be angry, just because of an example like what I just had to deal with. Because he's the type of person that uphold all this fake civil rights and all this fake black history, man. All that stuff is fake, okay? It's all fake. It was all contrived by these Caucasians and their boule black Pan-Africanist bootlicks who wanted to come out here and push Pan-Africanism on the people. I told you before, you can go right back to the Masons and whatnot under Prince Hall. They was pushing all that African nonsense. They started pushing that African stuff. So the white men allowed them to hang around because they was going to push the narrative. I don't know when the African narrative started, but like I said, they were hell-bent on pushing the whole we all from Africa nonsense. You see? And it's the same thing today. I told you a lot of these fake Pan-Africanist professors, don't trust these niggas, man. These dashiki-wearing niggas, man. These pro-black dashiki-wearing niggas are a bunch of coons, man. They're a bunch of boule coons. That's their little costume they wear, and they promote shit like the civil rights, like your Martin Luther Kings and your Coretta Scott. These people are nothing but a bunch of agents, man. And they was being used to push this whole black narrative. They was being used to push this whole civil rights narrative just so that we can embrace blackness. Because you do know after our people went through all that, like I said, to show you the white man beating up on these black people, beating up, and they made sure it shot a lot of it in black and white film. Notice that. Now, color was around. Why is it that a lot of this stuff was shot in black and white footage when there was color around? This was happening in the 60s. Why was it done in black and white? Ask yourself the question. You know why? It was done in black and white to accentuate the whole black and white image that they wanted you to have, the contrast of black and white color. That's why it was shot. A lot of that stuff was done in black and white. You see? They want to keep that black and white. And like I said, a lot of these people are actors, man. Those people, those civil rights people are actors, man. They agents.